Good afternoon. I call this meeting of the Job Growth, Energy, Affordability, Policy, and Finance Committee to order. Today is Wednesday, March 28th. The first order of business is approval of the minutes dated March 27th. Representative O'Neill moves approval of the minutes dated March 27th. Are there any corrections, additions, changes, or additions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The minutes are adopted. Members, the first bill on our agenda for the day is House File 3713. Representative Anderson, welcome to the committee. The chair moves House File 3713 for possible inclusion in a later bill. And Representative Anderson, is the A1 amendment yours?
It is.
The chair will also move the A1 amendment to get the bill in the form that Representative Anderson would like. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. Representative Anderson, to your bill is amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I'll be really brief. What this does is it allocates a portion from the Minnesota Investment Fund to NatureWorks. I have with me a testifier that can give you greater detail on what NatureWorks does. It's part of the bioeconomy, and just ask for your support, and I'll turn it over to him.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Representative Chairman Garofalo, committee members. Thank you for your time today. Ken Williams, NatureWorks, technical fellow chemical engineer at NatureWorks. Just come from the Senate hearing where we received bipartisan approval for the amended deed language and approved layover for possible consideration and supplemental. So I've submitted two documents for testimony today, written testimony. There's this document here. I won't bore you with this. It's submitted, but what I plan on doing is spending 5 minutes to review this second packet, which is in my version here. Unfortunately, we had a mix-up. I have a little 9-pager here. You've got a much longer extended version, but I'm going to walk you through it very quickly. So again, I'm from NatureWorks. We're the world's largest biopolymer producer, headquartered here in the state of Minnesota. We've commercialized the first new commercial resin in the last 30 years. We have about 50% export of our production capacity. We have our headquarters again in Minnetonka, Minnesota, and then commercial production down in Blair, Nebraska. What's really nice about our product is we manufacture biopolymer resin, and we offer 60 to 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions versus the incumbent petrochemical plastics. So I'm on slide 2. What I'm about to do is pivot to slide 3, which is slide 3 on your deck. This gives you an idea of where we're at in the market. We make the resin, and you can make that into anything that you can make incumbent petrochemical plastics into, all the way from fresh food packaging and serviceware, like this cup right here, which is compostable and used at Target Field and Excel Energy Center. So when you're enjoying a game, you can be assured that we're diverting all the food waste from the landfill into compost, which also avoids having to use all that ammonia fertilizer. So really nice performance attribute there, all the way to really exciting technology, which is additive manufacturing, 3D printing. So rather than, especially for low-income families, you need a prosthetic hand, for instance, instead of going to your physician and working with suppliers that cost between $5,000 to $20,000 for a custom prosthetic hand. You can 3D print one of these prosthetic hands today for less than $50 with our resin and a home 3D printer. So really enabling technology here, very disruptive. We'll pass that around.
If I could just interrupt for a quick second, we're going to pass this around, but this is digitally printed right here? This cup is?
No, that's thermoplastic. So that's made through a traditional resin manufacturing process, but the resin that's actually making up that cup is polylactide, so it's industrially compostable.
All right, so why does it say digitally printed?
I think that's just the writing on the...
Gotcha. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
I
I was like, wait, how do they digitally print this cup? Sorry.
Could digitally print a cup, but it's not really cost.
I mean, I knew that. That's why I asked. That's what I meant.
Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic question. I can tell you're a perceptive individual, Chairman. Thank
Oh,
you.
this guy's been around here too long. Please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Glad you guys haven't fallen asleep. I appreciate it. So slide 4, which is slide 4 on your packet. I'm not going to bore you with the production details until we get to the Q&A, but again, we're taking greenhouse gases, whether directly or indirectly, sequestering that today into sugar, which is then fermented to lactic acid, which is the topic that's our feedstock, and then we make that into commercial resins. So I'll skip ahead to slide, what's on your packet, slide 7. And this is where we get into what I call innovation spillover. both in the state of Minnesota and nationally. So you see here on this map here, there's a little star there. That's our headquarters in Minnetonka, Minnesota. That's where we have approximately 69 jobs as of today. So we do a lot of our research and development, our commercial presence in there. But you also see a little bit to the south there in Nebraska where we have our manufacturing facility, and that's feeding in to all of our downstream customers, brand owners, manufacturers, and doing that typical 5-to-1 spillover. For every one job we create in R&D in our facility, we're enabling 5 jobs downstream of us. So the typical question I ask here is, do you see anything wrong with this picture? And if you're in Minnesota, the answer is supposed to be, well, yeah, I see something wrong with this picture. How come we don't have a manufacturing facility in Minnesota? Why is your facility in Nebraska? And that's why I want to speak with you here today. So again, 36 states, we have customers, manufacturers. Our products are in Target, Walmart, all 50 states, 50,000 shelves in the U.S. So slide 8 on your deck, just to give you an example here, locally in Minnetonka. And again, I'm a chemical engineer, so I oversee a large group developing new-to-the-world technology to try to improve the cost structure, reduce capital intensity, improve the reinvestment economics of this process. So, for example, you see here over the last 5 years in Minnetonka, we've added 15 high-paying jobs, $105,000 salary, $140,000 fully loaded, just to give you an example of the project that I've been working on here in the last 5 years, its effect just locally here in our city of Minnetonka. Slide 11. If you want further information sort of on our presence in Minnesota and our downstream customers, that's slide 11 on your deck. 3M and Target, we were 3M 2017 Supplier of the Year. And again, real diversity there in our partners in Minnesota. Slide 10 on your deck really brings home, for example, puts some, there's no faces on this page, but gives some examples of the high technology, high-paying jobs that we've created in Minnetonka in the last 5 years. So, for example, we hired a team of 6 for new-to-the-world technology, a fermentation process to not take CO2 from the atmosphere, sequester that in sugar, and then make our product. We actually took methane directly in a gas-fed fermentation process new to the world, and now we're sequestering greenhouse gases directly from the source, directly methane, and putting that into lactic acid as our feedstock. So a real disruptive, potentially disruptive technology from a cost standpoint. And so these 6 folks, 2 of these were recent graduates of the University of Minnesota, 3 were women. So again, we're a private company, equal opportunity employer, take that diversity piece very seriously. And then finally, I'm going to stop here on slide 15 in your deck, which is not slide 15 in my deck, but hopefully you can find slide 15. And this is really the topic of the conversation. I hope we can have some robust Q&A on this. And this is really around, why we're asking for the $1 million from deed. And this is, again, to support the process that we're developing around the reinvestment economics, maintaining the jobs that we've created, but also developing the technology that really will support. I mean, we're on the cusp here of reinvestment economics where we can deploy multiple plants. Our second plant, first time in this sector where we have a biochemical production process where you're not just having one large commercial plant, but multiple plants. And we very much like to answer the question, can we do this in Minnesota? And would ask for your support to help support the jobs we've created, but also help support our bias, which is to make sure that we can answer the question, can we do this successfully in Minnesota here in the next 3 to 5 years? So thank you very much for your time. Look forward to questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your presentation. Representative Anderson, do you have any other invited testifiers?
I just wait for any questions, Mr. Chair.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and move to member questions and comments. To the testifier, MIF funds are usually directed through a local unit of government. Assuming it's the city of Minnetonka, you're going to be your local partner in this?
Yeah, so to answer your question, if you read the language, I think there's a little bit of it's MIF funds, but they're going to be used in a, I guess, more creative way. So there are, I think, some constraints that have been removed from the language. But for instance, 2 years ago when we started our technology lab, our new gas-fed fermentation lab, we worked with MIF and got a $250,000 loan. And that was, we worked through the city of Minnetonka there, yes, sir. So I guess short answer to your question is yes, Minnetonka.
Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative Anderson. Anderson P. Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is an exciting story here. Just get an idea of the scope of the company. You said you, 2002 began working on it, 2008, the biorefinery. How long have you been in commercial production with this process?
Yes, sir.
To the
So-
testifier?
Thank you, Representative. So I think we were incorporated in 1997. We started our first commercial production in late 2002. So we've been in production for almost 16 years now, maybe almost 17 years. This really was a new-to-the-world plastic, and it takes time, obviously, to make inroads against the incumbent materials that have been around for 50 years, assets that are fully depreciated. So yes, we've been in manufacture for 15 years. We're at the point now where we've penetrated markets such that we can now decide where we want to put the next facility. Obviously, we want to do that with the best reinvestment economics, but it's an exciting time. You're absolutely right for the industry, and that second plant is always a big milestone.
Seeing no other comments or questions, Representative Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the testifier. So what are you going to use the $1 million for? I mean, you said that, you've alluded to some things about it, but maybe I didn't hear it or you didn't articulate it, but what are you going to use the $1 million for?
To the testifier.
Yes, sir. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you, but I believe the question was, what are you going to use the $1 million for?
That's correct.
Right, yes, sir. Yeah, so again, I lead a large R&D group. The money would be used to maintain the jobs that we've created so far, potentially add new jobs as we're developing this technology, incubating it such that we can reduce the cost of manufacture. The name of the game here is improving gross margin and making sure we have the reinvestment economics to have that second plant. So number one, job maintenance in the city of Minnetonka, potentially additional jobs, and supporting essentially the technology infrastructure that we have in Minnetonka to allow us to deploy a second facility, a second commercial facility.
Representative Mahoney?
And so why are you asking, maybe you just answered it in your own fashion, but why are you asking for the exemptions that are in this bill to typical MIF funding?
To the testifier?
Yes, sir, great question. We did successfully use the $250,000 loan from MIF in the past to help support our lab. If I'm to be brutally honest, the key concern here is, there's typically a technology investment portion, which we've always been huge proponents of. We typically match these funds 5 to 1, 10 to 1. I can spend more time spelling out how I've done that in the past, but these funds will be matched with our typical cost share of 5 to 1. The reason why we're calling for the exclusions, if you will, there's really not a program, given current statute and legislation, that supports us in this stage of our technology development. Typically, with the type of money we're asking for, there's a formula to call out a certain number of jobs created, a certain amount of technology that needs to be invested in. So, we've very diligently explored and tried to leverage the programs that are available, but at this point, there really is nothing that's available to us today, rather besides doing what we're doing, which we've always done, which is to lead from the front and try to come up with creative ways to help support technology for NatureWorks and really help to grow the bioeconomy in Minnesota.
Representative Mahoney, is that it?
I'm kind of confused because I have watched the MIF or Job Creation Fund covers, the only thing it doesn't cover is, I think it's insurance and retail in some form or another. And you're saying that I'm going to ask Deed to explain why you don't fit into the others. I don't really want to get into it right here. But you're really not explaining to me how you can't possibly fit into a bill that programs that actually cover almost everything. I mean, that's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to have to go to the department to get it.
I'll be happy to expand.
To the testifier?
Yes, sir, thank you. So we work directly, speaking with Deed, looking at the specific opportunity that we needed here and work directly with them on the language. So if you go through the formulas, I'm going to really be brutally honest here to try to answer your question, sir. If you look at the formulas around how money is allocated through the Minnesota Investment Fund, we did it previously successfully. But if you look at the number of jobs that are tied to that or the specific investment that has to come from the company as cost share, that just would not work with what we're talking about here. We would have to, based on the formulas, the number of jobs created, based on what we've created here in Minnetonka, would just not qualify for the $1 million we're asking for. We're in a very critical stage in terms of technology development, and we see a real opportunity, again, with the innovation spillover here and potentially creating 50 jobs, as I mentioned on the last page, in high-quality manufacturing jobs, as well as 10 R&D jobs. You know, if we work through the math, what I hope I'm trying to articulate here is that there isn't a program within DEED or within the Minnesota Investment Fund to do what we're trying to do here based on the jobs that we've created so far, trying to maintain those, as well as maintain the innovation pipeline that we're doing in Minnetonka. So there is a Minnesota Investment Fund. It does supply money, but it's not going to work in this particular application, and I guess I would refer to council to try to work out the specific example. If we created this many jobs, here's how much money we would be eligible for with the MIF program, which does not work given what we're asking for here with the $1 million. So trying to answer your question the best I can.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just curious, you had talked about your R&D work in Minnetonka and how you're trying to close the gap. How much more, you didn't really say how much more expensive your product is than traditional products, but can you tell us if you get this $1 million, like how far apart are you now with this gap and how much closer will you be to being competitive with the traditional products?
To the testifier?
So the single use.
Thank you very much for the question. So the fun part of this is, you know, our experience in the market for over 15 years now. I mean, you really have to compete on price and performance, and I've given you a couple examples today where we compete on performance. The nice part of our process is we spent so much time debottlenecking the facility we do compete on price as well, and in many markets against the incumbent petrochemical plastics. So we compete based on performance, based on price, but obviously the name of the game here in terms of deploying assets from a reinvestment economic standpoint is to drive that cost down, improve that gross margin as much as you can, and significantly reduce capital intensity. So I hope I didn't mislead you by saying we're not competitive on price today, otherwise we wouldn't be selling out our existing asset. But the pressure is on to make sure that we have the right gross margin so that we can operate the next asset, which wouldn't be fully depreciated, you know, when we start it up, and still be able to compete on price. So that's where the research and development, the technology infrastructure, and the group that I've developed over the last 5 years is coming in to try to make sure that we do get this to the finish line and do have reinvestment economics for the next brand new to the world plant.
Thank you. Representative Anderson, any closing comments?
I just appreciate your support, Mr. Chair.
With that, the chair renews his motion to have House File 3713 as amended laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr.
Representative Poston.
Thank you.
Tim. Mahoney. Check your phone. Representative West moves House File 3009 for possible inclusion in a later bill. And Representative, do you have any amendments for your bill at all?
No, I do not.
Okay. Representative Mahoney?
Oh, let me check. I've never seen you here before.
My food.
Yeah, aren't they supposed to bring something?
Yeah, is this your first time before the committee, Representative?
It is my first time.
Where are the treats?
I can't bring any treats.
I'm sorry, Representative, I couldn't hear that. Could you step a little closer to the microphone? This is your first time before the committee, is that
It is
correct?
my first time before the committee.
So where are the treats for
I
the
didn't
committee?
get to bring the treats. I will bring you some treats.
Okay, well, we'll have your committee hearing as soon as you bring those treats back. So we'll, no, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. So, Representative, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Committee. House File 3009 appropriates money for grants to centers for independent living so that the centers can hire employees to provide targeted services for veterans. It appropriates $590,000 in 2018 and $590,000 in 2019. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my first testifier, Kara Rupp.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. I'm Kara Ruff. I'm the Executive Director of Independent Lifestyles, one of the 8 centers for independent living in Minnesota. I'm also the legislative liaison on behalf of the 8 centers in Minnesota. We are a private nonprofit organization serving people of all disabilities, physical, cognitive, mental, emotional, chemical, sensory. And in our history, and as we continue to deploy our soldiers, more and more are coming back with significant disabilities, both physical, mental, cognitive. And we have had an increasing need each year for specific services targeted for veterans. As most of us know, veterans respond best to other veterans, and so it really requires a specific effort to get veteran programming and staff in place throughout the 8 centers for independent living. We recognized this need long ago, and so one of the unique things that our center did was to start Camp Bliss, located in Walker, Minnesota, where we do retreats specific for veterans, and Carla will testify about her experiences there. But we also provide independent living skills training, advocacy, information and referral, employment, housing, anything that will help the veteran to live a healthy, integrated, and productive life. We have so many veterans who we have found living out solitary on islands and in duck blinds and virtually homeless, and have been able to regain society and regain relationships with their families and children, and become a productive member of society again. So we are asking for this funding to help us get in place this critical need for targeted services that is community-based. The other thing that we've heard is veterans are very hungry for community-based services that are not necessarily within the government realm. And so we have been thrilled to meet that need, but need your help and support to get coverage throughout the state of Minnesota, so that we can serve veterans in every neck of our woods. I don't have treats, please don't hold that against me. And I don't have fun things to pass around, but most importantly, I have 2 incredible testifiers with me today, and I'd like to introduce Carla.
All right, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with the testimony.
Hello, Mr. Chair. My name is Carla Tapaner. I'm a retired Army veteran, and I am the current commander of the American Legion in Apple Valley, Minnesota, one of the largest legions in the state at this point. And when I retired, there really were no services to help us in 2001, because that was before all the fun stuff started happening, apparently. My husband realized that there was a huge need, and I wasn't reaching out for help at all. And he forced me to go to Camp Bliss, kicking and screaming. And I can honestly say that this was the most powerful weekend I have ever had in my life. I started the healing process. Kara did more for me in those 3 days than the VA did for me in the last 16. It's a very humbling experience to go to one of these retreats, knowing that you need help, but not knowing how you can be helped. And she has a distinct gift for helping veterans right now. It's true, we do like to talk to other veterans. I don't like going to the VA because very few of the doctors there even have military experience. And you don't get the care you need. They kind of put you all in the same box and give you a bottle of pills and say, hey, go home. As you can testify, I'm sure you heard the last couple of days, a veteran committed suicide in the waiting room at one of the VA hospitals. We can't help them all. The VA can't help all of them. But this is the perfect situation for veterans to reach out and be helped by an outside organization. I can't say enough for this organization and how much they've helped just even the people that I've seen. I've sent several of my soldiers from the Legion up there. I've got nothing but public just praise for them. And please consider this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service as well.
Next, I'd like to introduce Mike Mills. He's also a veteran and a staff person for Independent Lifestyles, Camp Bliss.
Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Sergeant First Class retired Mike Mills. In 2005, I was injured by a roadside bomb while I was in Iraq. And I sustained third-degree burns and third-degree and deep tissue burns to 31% of my body. Basically, a third of my body was burned. Once I got home and medical retired, I shut myself in. I didn't go outside. I didn't do anything. I wouldn't go to the store. I wouldn't come out in public because of the way I looked. Through different surgeries, obviously, I got the way I did, but I still wouldn't go outside because now I have this new face, and it's not what I was born with. But reaching out to Centers for Independent Living is what got me outside, and working with veterans. Because the more I heal, the more they heal, or the more they heal, I heal. And working at Camp Bliss, you know, we've done what, 300 veterans, I do believe, where they've come through the weekend retreats, and I keep in contact with every one of them. Every veteran that's ever been to the retreats, I keep in contact with them all. And they let me know how the Camp Bliss has worked for them and how their needs for independent living. I've had a few veterans that shut themselves in before, while I was working with them before Bliss, and they come out of their shell because they see another combat vet and they see me. I can't hide me. I can't hide any of my stuff. So and then they see that and they come out, and it's amazing work that is done at either Camp Bliss or for Centers for Independent Living.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your service as
You're
well.
welcome.
Do you have any additional testifiers, Representative?
No, Mr. Chair.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? And if you have concerns with this bill, you just might as well leave as opposed to testifying. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I always want to thank our Legion Post 1776 head for being here, and thank you for bringing this bill, Representative Poston. It's been such a pleasure to work with you and be in the Veterans Committee with you, and I'm so glad to see this here in the Job Committee. So this is a great bill, and I'm really excited to hear it again and to talk about all the good work that's happening. Thanks so much.
Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I agree, the powerful stories. Well, where did the 590,000 come from?
The testifier.
Mr. Chair, representatives, we basically came up with an amount that would be a satisfactory amount to allow each of the 8 centers for independent living to hire one FTE equivalent.
Seeing no additional comments or questions, rough estimate of with the additional FTE at each site, how many veterans you'd be able to serve on an annual basis with this? Additional veterans you'd be able to serve, I should say.
I'm hoping between 500 and 1,000 annually.
Super. Seeing no, Representative Poston, any closing comments?
Yeah, I would just mention that if you're up in the Walker area, please stop by Camp Bliss. You'll be very impressed. They do great work there. Other than that, Mr. Chair, does your committee convene tomorrow?
Yeah, right? Yeah, we do.
Okay, I'll deliver the treats tomorrow.
That might be acceptable, maybe.
And other than that, I would just appreciate your support. Thank you.
With interest. With that, Representative West renews his motion to have House File 3009 laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thank you, Representative, and thank you to the testifiers. Representative O'Driscoll. Representative Vogel moves House File 2829 be recommended to pass and referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. Representative O'Driscoll, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. House File 2829 is a bill that I'm carrying on behalf of the appraisers board here, or I should say the appraisers here in the state of Minnesota. What it does is it establishes an appraisal board, and we have been through 3 of the 4 committee steps, this being the 3rd. And the bill sets up an appraisal board to deal with industry issues and to be a venue for others in the industry, realtors or real estate professionals, finance folks, builder contractors, and appraisers to talk about industry-related issues. The reason that this bill is before your committee is it does have a fiscal issue with it. And when I say issue is they would like to pay the folks who are on the advisory council, as we do with others, mileage and a daily per diem. And we are asking that this be included in the Commerce Department's current budget. I've spoken with this, with the good folks at Commerce on it, and we'd like to take it up in Ways and Means and just asking Commerce to absorb that cost. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Representative O'Driscoll, I guess I looked online last night and there wasn't a fiscal note, and I guess it's still being, Mr. Zempel, if you want to address that.
Mr. Chairs, members of the committee, Chris Semple, House Fiscal Analysis. Yes, a fiscal note has been requested but has not been completed yet.
Okay. Representative O'Driscoll, do you have any testifiers?
I don't have any official testifiers. I know that Mr. Berkowitz from the department is here, and he has provided us an oral estimate in the past, so if you'd like to have him come down and speak to the matter, I'm sure he would be willing to do that.
Well, I'll let him decide. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor, voice concerns, or offer information to the committee? I don't see anyone getting up, Representative O'Driscoll. So, questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative O'Driscoll, any closing comments?
I think it's something that the industry and that the trades can benefit from, and I encourage your support.
Okay. And just as kind of, like I said, there was no fiscal note on this. I didn't think there was a fiscal note on this last night, so we're going to send it to Ways and Means. But obviously, if this fiscal note comes back differently or something less than absorbable, then we're going to have to take another look at it. That makes sense?
Fully understood, Mr. Chair.
Okay. With that, Representative Vogel renews his motion to have House File 2829 recommended to pass and referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. Representative O'Driscoll, House File 3688.
Mr. Chair, House File 3688 is the product of a working group that was included in your bill last year. And what it required was those who are interested and were stakeholders in what's called PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy. And this bill has nothing to do with the concept of clean energy other than the fact that it deals with the finance mechanism on how those services might be paid. There were two competing ideas that were brought forward. One would be that local units of government could assess properties through a property tax assessment, which would, under Minnesota statute, put that as a priority lien over all other liens on property, whether they be first mortgages, second mortgages, mechanics liens, and others on real estate, or and the only one that would have higher priority would be that of a property tax lien. And we had some concerns about this, given the fact that it is believed that the properties in question, the neighborhoods in question, might be established neighborhoods where there would need to be some work, and there might be limited equity in those homes for individuals who are purchasing that. And essentially what could end up happening if you take a $100,000 home, $5,000 down payment, and an individual wants to go with a PACE loan where the local unit of government did an assessment, and say that's $15,000 or $20,000. Here you have liens against properties in the neighborhood of $110,000, $120,000 on a property that's only worth $100,000. And we feel that that is a situation that we should be building policy in Minnesota on good public policy, not on a business model. I'd also like to point out and compliment in front of the committee, Representative Hillstrom has been a strong partner last year and this year with me on this particular bill. So what does the bill do? The bill says that we can put a lien on property, but it would have to be a lien that would fall in the order of recordation, so when they were entered into the public record, versus giving this type of lien a superior lien over others. Final comment, Mr. Chair, on this. The reason why you may hear from some people or have read some testimony that, well, none of these loans have or assessments have ever gone into default. And the reason for that is the first mortgage company will typically buy out the lien on there to maintain their top priority and then end up having to settle for pennies on the dollar in a foreclosure or liquidation of that property. And we don't think that this is good public policy to go that route. I think it's better public policy to have disclosures and disclaimers and use the regular recordation of lien process in the state of Minnesota. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I stand for questions.
Thank you. And we did not formally move the bill. Representative McQuaid, you're a co-sponsor of the bill. Would you like to move this bill to be recommended to pass and refer to the Committee on Taxes? This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion, move to member questions and comments. Questions and comments from members of the committee. Representative O'Driscoll?
Appreciate your support, and again, this is a work in progress that took over a year, and all stakeholders that have been on the committee have been, the working group have supported and endorsed this to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Chair.
Representative McQuaid renews her motion to have House File 3688 recommended to pass and refer to the Committee on Taxes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion prevails. On your way to taxes. Thank you, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members.
Representative Vogel, you're up next. And Representative Vogel, there's a A1 amendment that is in the packet. I believe that is your amendment. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. Just
All right.
a technical correction.
All right, so Representative Vogel moves House File 3044 be recommended to pass and refer to the Committee on Ways and Means. He also moves the A1 amendment to get the bill in the form that he would like. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The A1 amendment is adopted. Representative Vogel, two-year bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. House File 3044 is very similar to last year's House File 1001 and deals with regulation on residential properties. Basically, what we've had is a lot of people being priced out of the market because the regulatory issues tend to drive up the price when they're done. And what this bill does is it's scaled back from last year. Last year, I guess the best way to describe it is the legislature would have had somewhat of a veto effect on new regulation the way it was worded. This bill takes that away, but it says that the legislature needs to be notified and the regulation can't go into effect until after the legislature has adjourned. It again sets the $1,000 threshold, but it also has a little wording in there with an incentive for the agencies to work together. And I think that's, to me, the main focus of this bill, is right now it seems that the agencies are working in rather a siloed manner. What this does is it says that if the net effect is more than $1,000, then you have to go through the process of notifying the legislature and waiting until the adjournment. So in practicality, if indeed there was a new regulation that came out that was going to cost $2,500, and there could be another agency found where there could be $1,500 of regulation that could go away because it doesn't need to be done anymore, or working with the builders or the homeowners find a way to bring that under $1,000, they meet the threshold. So what it's meant to drive is conversation as much as stopping anything. So I know there will be some opposition from some groups because it certainly does put a little more of an impediment in front of regulation, but by the same token, I think I had seen statistics that for every $1,000 an increase in the price of the house, that relative to mortgage standards and so forth, I think 3,000 to 4,000 people are priced out of houses. So even though the threshold is low, I think the bill's a good bill because what it's doing is seeking a conversation to keep regulations down so people can continue to find houses, build houses, remodel houses. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Representative Vogel, did you have any testifiers that you brought with today?
I believe there are a few.
All right, we have the top three. We're going to call down Mr. Peter Coyle. We have you on first on the list, and then David Siegel. Coyle's off. All right, let's start with David Siegel, and then Nick Erickson, you're on deck. Please, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourselves for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. I'm Dave Siegel. I'm the Executive Director for Housing First Minnesota. And I'm here today to speak in favor of House File 3044, and I'm joined by Nick Erickson, who is our Regulatory Affairs Manager. Housing First Minnesota represents more than 1,200 member firms involved in all aspects of housing. We're home builders, remodelers, land developers, subcontractors, and suppliers. And our members are experts in building safe, durable homes for families at a price they can afford and in communities in which they want to live. We are in Minnesota experiencing a housing affordability crisis, which is leaving more Minnesota families unable to purchase a home. In addition to the legislature, this issue has arisen in newspaper editorial boards, local governments, and even Governor Dayton has addressed the issue. One question that consistently comes up as we talk about this is, why aren't we building enough affordable homes? And the answer is really simple. Building new entry-level homes that the average Minnesota family can afford is just becoming increasingly difficult. There might be a misconception that builders have chosen to build homes that are more expensive. It's not the case. Most home builders prefer to build where the greatest concentration of buyers lie, and that is below the $300,000 price point. But today it is nearly impossible to build a new home, new single-family home at that price point. We've heard from the media, the nation's top housing market research firms, that Minnesota is the most expensive housing market in the United States, with the exception of the coasts. We are vastly more expensive than our neighboring Midwest states. We're home to one of the largest cost differentials between newly built and existing homes. In Minnesota, it's a 68% cost differential. The average across the country is 30%. And each report that we read cites the multitude of local, regional, and state regulations as the primary driver of the high costs of housing in our state. City fees, Met Council land policy, and rulemaking processes for Wetland Conservation Act, construction stormwater permit, radon, building code, energy code, plumbing code, electrical code. These are all examples of rules processes that impact housing. And while we do have confidence in the technical expertise in each of these agencies and in the process, we aren't seeing the emphasis, the broader emphasis on affordability that's necessary and the cumulative costs that these rules create. So House File 3044 creates a pathway for the legislature to conduct appropriate oversight and ensure that the state agency rules appropriately balance safety, durability, and the value of home ownership and affordability. It's important to note that this bill is not an effort to diminish the resource protections or the safety elements that are advanced by these various regulatory agencies. Housing First and our members agree with the vast majority of housing regulations, and we do have tremendous respect for the professionals who promulgate those rules. This legislation seeks to bring back into the rulemaking process the equally significant and important value of affordability and home ownership. We have achieved in this state safety and durability in our housing stock. We build among the best houses in the country. We have a 100-degree temperature variation in this state. We build a good product here. House File 3044, though, will bring back that element of affordability into that process, which will result in greater home ownership for Minnesotans and greater affordability for all Minnesotans. So thank you for the opportunity to join the committee today, and thank you for addressing this critical piece of housing affordability legislation.
Thank you for your testimony. Next testifier, Nick Erickson, and then we have Ryan Hamilton on deck. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Nick Erickson. I am the Regulatory Affairs Manager for Housing First Minnesota. So I'm the organization's point person on a lot of the housing regulations enacted at state, local, and regional levels here in Minnesota. And I just want to begin by reiterating what Mr. Siegel said. This legislation is not about any single rulemaking effort or any state agency. There's been misconceptions in the past that this is targeted at DLI, and it's really just not the case. House File 3044 is about the fact that there is simply no mechanism currently to track the various rulemaking efforts and the associated costs that affect housing that are being acted by state agencies. House File 3044 rectifies this by enabling the legislature to provide that oversight and by bringing all of these rules into a committee process where the costs can be evaluated. And over the last 5 years, we have seen a 30% increase in the cost of housing regulations in Minnesota. And when our members price their homes, up to 30% of that cost is related directly to regulatory costs. We've seen the MPCA with the stormwater permitting process has added about $3,500 to a home. The recent energy code is about $7,000 to a home. And these are just two rulemaking efforts that have added more than $10,000 to the cost of a home. And we're seeing it as we compare our real estate market to the rest of the United States. Here in the Midwest, we have very little entry-level homes that are built new. We are lagging at building at the entry-level price point, and our rate of recovery since the Great Recession is far behind that of our peers in Middle America. Before the crash, we had about 72% of homes in this market were priced less than $325,000. Today, it's fallen by half. It's about 38%, and that number is falling every day. House File 3044 will not slow down or impede the rulemaking process, as some opposed to this bill will say. For the past year, we have been involved in at least 6 rulemaking efforts across 3 state agencies. Each of these has taken or will take multiple years to create, giving plenty of time for this legislative review. And it's also important to note that this will not get involved in any technical aspects of the rulemaking. It will be focused solely on the cost aspect and leaving the technical aspects up to the experts at the agencies. That also will not affect our state's adoption of model codes. No state adopts the model codes as written. Each state, because of their own processes, will adopt amendments, so we'll not touch the model codes. And again, I just want to close by reiterating that this is not about any agencies, about the cumulative cost that the rules add to the cost of a home. So with that, I can stand for any questions.
Thank you. We'll complete public testimony before we go to member questions. Ryan Hamilton? Welcome to the committee, sir. Please state your name for the record and proceed to the testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Ryan Hamilton, and I am a lobbyist and staff attorney with the Minnesota Realtors. You've heard from the folks who build housing products, and I'm here to hopefully offer a perspective of the consumers, your constituents, who are out in your communities seeking housing products. Included in your packets are some data, statewide housing data. The first page being local market data update for February 2018. I'll focus in on the historical median sales price, which is a steady trend line upward. We're currently at $224,900 for our median sales price. Days on the market has gone down. So the market is good, and percent of original list price received continues to trend upward. So the market is good if you're a seller. But realtors, we represent both sides, buyers and sellers, and the stories we're hearing from our buying side clients are stories of tremendous frustration in terms of lack of inventory. The other price point would be median sales price. We talked about that. Again, the trend line continues to go upward. The next one would be month supply of inventory. We're currently at 2.1. A healthy market is 4. And if you look at month supply on the table over on the right, it's consistently been under 4, and this has been the case for the past several years. Since I've been with the realtors, I like to ask as often you do, hey, how's it going out there? How's the market? And they say, good, but wow, there's not enough inventory. And that's just a refrain I've heard from them for going on years now. And finally, we have what's called our Housing Affordability Index. And what that does, it takes our the median household sales price and compares that with median household income, and it just comes up with a metric for affordability, the higher number being better, more affordable. And right now we're at 179. But again, if you look at the table, you can see that that's, and the chart, that's consistently on a downward trend. And so hopefully these numbers, these facts and data, for me, it confirms the stories I'm hearing from the market level, from our realtors and just my peers who are out seeking homes. It's incredibly hard to find an attractive new home or an entry-level home at a price point under $300,000. And so it begs the question, as Mr. Siegel alluded to, why aren't those entry-level homes being built? And so houses are products at the end of the day, and the retail, like any product, the retail cost to the consumer is largely dependent on the cost of production. And so that's why we're here and we're supporting this bill. To the extent possible, we feel like government should be conscious of the cost drivers that go into the production of new home construction. Yeah, so with that, I'd just like to thank Mr. Representative Vogel for bringing this topic to light and bringing this important discussion to the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you. Assistant Commissioner McClellan. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed to your testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Scott McClellan. I'm the state building official and the director of construction codes and licensing, a division of the Department of Labor and Industry. And although we have common ground here, I am speaking against House File 3044. Although this version is a dramatic improvement upon the last year's version, it still is an unnecessary expense. And I just want to make a few points that I hope will bring clarity as you evaluate this bill. The department is in complete agreement with our home building partners, and they are our partners. They have been for many years, about the need to keep housing more affordable. In fact, our current law, as you have perhaps in your handout in front of you in the first paragraph, describes in effect our charter, that when we adopt codes, we are to tend to lower construction costs, not just control them. So believe it or not, regardless of what you've heard, our code, our residential code that we adopt as an agency does tend to do just that, and I'll demonstrate that in a couple of minutes. The real barriers, as Mr. Siegel said, to affordable housing are land, labor, and municipal land use regulations. That's where the bulk of the savings can be found. And this became clear at the Bipartisan Housing Summit in December and the Governor's Affordable Housing Task Force that occurred earlier this month. I've been in this capacity with the state for the last 30 years and seen a number of codes adopted. And the only significant cost increases that I've seen over the years, one has been in energy. And the first time was in the 1980s, when there was legislation saying Minnesota shall have the most restrictive energy code in the nation. And the second time was a governor's executive order in 2009, which is also referenced in your handout. Other than that, the only other appreciable increases were done in the 2009 legislative session. All good things, but they were radon, building durability, and window fall protection. But again, the agency did not voluntarily adopt those. Those were legislation that were imposed on us to put in the building code. And that's all great stuff. But I just wanted to make it clear that the agency, as a rule, as a practice, as our charter and statute, is to lower construction costs. And in your handout, which if you have it, there are about 10 or 12 bulleted items that we actually incorporated in the last adoption of our building code that actually address just that, both the new construction and in existing construction. And as a matter of practice, when we adopt a new code, in fact, we are looking for ways to bring clarity and cost effectiveness to our home building partners. Lastly, the department does have a record of reducing costs and fees. We reduced contractor licensing fees in each of the last two bienniums, including the elimination of the $80 assessment on the recovery fund, representing a 55% decrease in license fees for home builders in the last 4 years alone. The department also purchased rights to have all of our codes online for free public access. No one has to purchase a code. And lastly, due to the bullets in the handout that I referred you to, these are the easy ones that I pulled out of the last code adoption that actually made things easier for home builders in Minnesota, some for new and some for existing. So again, we take affordability in our building code very seriously, as our home building partners just said, and they're partners with us in this process. I just believe that this bill really doesn't get to the matter of reducing affordability or increasing affordability in the cost of new homes. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next testifier on the list is Representative Clark. We're going to crank to the public testimony, and then we'll follow up with
okay.
questions of the testifiers. Thank you.
All right.
Next, Mr. Snope from IBEW. Welcome to the committee, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Andy Snope. I am the legislative director of the IBEW. The IBEW Minnesota State Council represents 16 IBEW local unions and 16,000 IBEW members working in the electrical industry across the state of Minnesota. We have some concerns with House File 3044 in regards to the timely adoption of state construction safety codes. The IBEW Minnesota State Council is opposed to House File 3044. I also have a letter that I'd like to submit as well with 24 other organizations, from labor organizations to contractor organizations that also oppose this. So if that could be distributed, I'd appreciate that. In order to keep up with the latest updates in safe installation of electrical equipment and wiring methods, we feel that it's vitally important to adopt the latest National Electric Code in a timely, consistent manner. The proposal in House File 3044 would hamper and delay that timely process, leaving Minnesota homeowners without the most up-to-date electrical safety codes.
Excellent.
The National Electric Code is adopted at a national level by the National Fire Protection Agency every 3 years. The state of Minnesota has consistently adopted the most recently nationally adopted National Electric Code every 3 years through the process of a rules change. The adoption of the National Electric Code is done on the national level in a very transparent and thorough way. Leaders in the industry from business, labor, manufacturers, educators, regulators, and fire safety are brought together from around the country to bring forth their knowledge and opinions in regards to safety standards, with an economic interest and practicality being taken into account at all levels. Furthermore, public comment and input are taken throughout the national process and through the current rules-making process at the state level. The proposals in House File 3044 calls for a review of a proposed rules change that may increase the cost of a unit price by $1,000 or more. Though I believe that typically the adoption of the National Electric Code changes may not push over the cost of that level, I do think that the very general term of unit brings with it a lot of subjection. The cost of a code change to a small home could certainly be less than that of a larger home. By adopting this bill, the rules changing process and therefore the adoption of the state construction safety standards, including the National Electric Code, could easily become a political issue rather than that of a decision brought about through industry leaders and experts with the current public input structure afforded through the existing rules change process. Thank you for taking my testimony into consideration, and thank you, Representative Vogel, for allowing me to testify our concerns on House File 3044. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. That's the completion of the list of people who signed up in advance. Are there any additional public testifiers who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns of the bill? Come on down. Yeah, either in. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed to the testimony.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Richard Hauffe, H-A-U-F-F-E. I am a regional manager with the International Code Council, and that is the nonprofit American organization that assembles new editions every 3 years of 15 different codes, safety codes and construction codes. And it's a nonprofit with 64,000 members. The codes are used in Minnesota. Currently you use the International Building Code. That's for commercial buildings largely. The International Residential Code, which is involved in this discussion. The Fire Code, International Energy Construction Code or Conservation Code, the International Existing Building Code, the International Mechanical Code, and the International Fuel Gas Code. And there is one jurisdiction that observes, Maplewood, Minnesota, that observes the International Green Construction Code. Of course, you also use the Uniform Plumbing Code, and you just heard from the National Electric Code. It's important. I want to walk you through the process of developing these model codes. I think everybody here has probably gone to NCSL meetings, and I'm sure you ask your interns to call up NCSL for model legislation to help develop your legislation. This is kind of in the same vein, but it's a stack of code books if you pile them all up about that high. But they're used by state governments and by local jurisdictions. They adopt them, they amend them, and they reflect the local values of the people, but of the jurisdictions. But just to give you an idea of where the residential codes and the related codes that probably be involved in a discussion come from, the International Residential Code, their building code, that's the construction part of it. 4 of the members, 12 members of that code committee are members, are experts from the National Association of Home Builders. That's NAHB. 4 of the 13 members of the International Residential Code Plumbing and Mechanical Code Committee are NAHB members. 4 of the 12 members of the Residential Energy Code are NAHB members. And then for the General Mechanical Code Committee of 14, one is an expert from NAHB, and one NAHB representative for the International Green Construction Code. That's important because the codes are heavily vetted, and NAHB, the Builders Association, obviously has a lot of influence and a lot of input on the codes that get adopted and those that get voted out. Right now, we are in the process of developing the 2021 codes. The state of Minnesota is considering the adoption, or is going through the review process to adopt the 2018 codes. Those were printed and made available last summer. They really reflect the technology of when they were finally passed. We take the codes, divide them into 2 groups, Group A and Group B, but it's a snapshot of what was current best practices for a basic code. This is not you know, a ritzy home, these are the basic standards of what's acceptable and what is considered good practice for performance. And just to give you an idea of what your surrounding states are doing, because that's been part of this discussion, South Dakota just has been set at the 2015 level, and the Governor Dugard just last week signed the 2018 update last week, which was passed by the legislature. Iowa has been at the 2015 code. State of Minnesota is using the 2012 codes, just to give you an idea. You are skipping 2 cycles here. So, but you get down to Iowa, they're looking at going into the 2018s next year. Been working with the fire marshal's office down there and the state code administrator. Nebraska has been using the 2012s. They have been entertaining going up to 15 or 18 within the next 12 months. And North Dakota has been at the 2015. And they're going to start the process through their Department of Commerce in September to do the review and the public hearings to move up to the 2018s. So I applaud the effort that Representative Vogel and supporters of this bill have aimed at trying to reduce the cost of housing. I got one daughter lives in the DC suburbs, and my other daughter lives in the Seattle suburbs, and it's rough. But there are drivers to the cost of real estate, and I would say that the danger that you're looking at here is you're going to set up a remedy or a perceived remedy that isn't going to squeeze out that $1,000 savings or whatever your goal is. From the average cost of building houses, this includes everything in the market. And so I think this conversation sort of starts at 2 different levels. One is the cost of average residences. The other one is, what about starter homes? What about families that come together, they're wanting to move out of an apartment and move into a house? And that's I think a very different subject. But I do agree that if they're, I don't run your state government, of course, but it's a conversation worth having and continuing. I think you've got everybody's attention here. I'm not sure that this bill is going to serve that purpose, although I think it could, in the long run, claim a victory by having that bigger conversation. And that's all I've got for now.
Thank you.
Unless anybody's got some questions.
Are there any additional members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, representatives. My name is Angie Wiese, W-I-E-S-E, and I'm speaking in opposition to the bill as the president of the Fire Marshals Association of Minnesota and a member of MINFAC, Minnesota Fire Association Coalition. In your packet, you have a letter titled Concerns with House File 3044. And I won't bore you by reading that. I'm sure you're all literate. But I do want to highlight a couple things and just add on too. So number one, with the definition of residential construction, as you've heard already before, a lot of the codes we're talking about affect not just residential construction. The same code book is used for commercial construction. This isn't going to just impact residential. It is going to impact commercial construction. And buildings are not a sum of parts anymore. They are systems. There's no way to break apart a system, a $1,000 piece of this system, and evaluate it by itself without impacting a whole slew of other things. That's just not how buildings are built anymore. They're not a sum of parts. They are systems. And we don't want to break that. We don't, and really what the code does is give you options. If you choose to use this option, you do this. If you choose this, you do this. And really, what Rick was talking about with the national codes every 3 years, the majority of those proposals are for new technology. It's to capitalize on new technology and new workplace methods. If anything, we should be having the opposite conversation, that we should be adopting the fastest, latest code because we get to utilize those newer technologies, because the people who build these buildings get to utilize new technologies and newer work practices. Number 3, I also want to add to what Rick said, that not only are these vetted and debated on the national level, cost is part of that. So there's a reason statement, but in addition to the reason statement for the change is a cost factor. What is the cost impact on building construction? That is vetted on a national level when these are heard. The code is a minimum standard. I don't know, that's not really stated anywhere, but it is a minimum standard. In Minnesota, it happens to also be a maximum because that's how the state law is written, but it is a minimum standard. If we went to, the nth degree and we want to build the Cadillacs of houses, that's not what's in our code. The code would say in your kitchen, you have to have a light fixture. Well, the cheapest option is a surface-mounted light fixture. But what do you see in houses? You don't see a surface-mounted light fixture, one in your kitchen. You see can lighting and some pendants over your island, and maybe you have a dimmer, maybe you don't. That is far above and beyond minimum standard. We're not creating affordability by having this bill. It's not what's being achieved here. Minimum standard is what's in this code. The other thing I would just want to highlight is that somebody mentioned that this does not address the technical merits of the code, that it only addresses the cost of the code. There is no way to separate the two. When the code is made up of technical aspects, so if we're talking about $1,000, it's a technical item. There's no way to separate those two from each other. And then I'll just leave you with this. On the second page of that letter, there's a list of organizations that are opposing this bill. Number 1, American Institute of Architects. Those are jobs that design. Number 2, Minnesota building officials. Those are jobs that ensure consumer protection and safety. Number 3, number 4, energy community. Those are jobs that ensure resiliency. Number 5, Fire Marshals Associations. Those are jobs that prevent fires. Number 6, another job that ensures resiliency. A slew of these are jobs that build housing, and they're opposed to this bill. I think that should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any other members of the public who wish to testify on this bill? Seeing no additional. Oh. Really? Good afternoon. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Steve Vogel. I'm here on behalf of the city of St. Paul. I am their building official. I am also here to represent the Association of Minnesota Building Officials. You've heard quite a bit today, but I don't think anybody has addressed to date the bill itself, and I would like to make a couple of comments about concerns that I have for that bill, and I would also like to provide some recommendations towards that bill. One of the concerns we have is line number 1.14 of the bill, and it references the $1,000 threshold. It's a low threshold if the new homes they are being built at $300,000 to $400,000, which is 1/3 or 1/4 of 1% of the overall cost. It's a small amount that we are talking about when we're talking about the health and safety of citizens or the longevity of our homes and products. I would recommend that we change the $1,000 to be more rational. It represents the overall construction costs of these projects. Another concern that I'm seeing is line number 1.22 of the bill. It allows for a single party to request an ALJ review. I would ask, because that we have in state statutes, that 25 people or parties are required to request such a hearing. I would recommend that we change this to 25 parties. That matches current law. Another concern that I have is line item 2.7 to 2.9, which says that the legislature cannot adopt the rule until after the adjournment of the next legislative session being convened. This could be more than a year, and arguably it's probably more like 16 months. This is a very long time to wait to adopt a rule. My recommendation is that we delete this section or change it to be more accountable timeline for the consumer and for our industry. Another concern that I'm seeing is that some of the codes like plumbing and electrical apply to both residential and commercial construction. If you stop the adoption of the code for residential reasons, you will also stop it for commercial construction projects. This is a very serious issue because of the rate at which the building materials and methods are advancing in today's technology, and because Minnesota already only adopts the codes every 6 years. My recommendations, I would like to see this better explained as to what the code or codes that the bill is actually targeting. I would add a section or portions of the code that can be removed instead of stopping an entire code process from being adopted because of a single provision. I would ask that you take this consideration of what I brought to your attention and consider the implications of what this bill will do for not only the consumer, but for our industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional public testifiers? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and move to member questions and comments. Representative Clark, you have the first question.
Just give me a minute, I'm trying to remember exactly.
Okay.
Oh, I think I do remember, but
You think you remember or not? Because I think I probably will.
I'll give it a try.
All right, Representative Clark.
The individual who talked earlier about I think there were 3, that's what I'm not remembering. I think he said 3 things that were, I think it was might have been the commissioner, assistant commissioner of construction, Mr. McClellan. I wanted to ask him a question. I think he cited 3 things that were, is he still here?
Assistant Commissioner McClellan, there you go, come on down.
I'm trying to find my notes, but I think you said there were 3 things that were changed in the code that one year. Can you, I heard the one that had to do with
Certainly.
windows.
Assistant Commissioner McClellan.
Mr. Chair,
Oh.
Representative. One was window fall, and that was put in legislation in
Yeah.
2009 due to some of the provident or tragedies of children falling out of windows. So there was a study group that was commissioned by the legislature to decide how that should be dealt with and put it into the code. The second was the requirement that all new homes address radon in the construction of new homes. And the third was building durability. There was a requirement in statute that said whenever we adopt a new model energy code, that a study be performed so that we effectively, paraphrasing, get it right and just don't throw energy requirements at new construction, but that a building scientist be retained and evaluate the effects of new construction. Those are the 3 elements.
Mr. Chairman?
Clark.
The reason I was asking is, I actually authored one of those bills, the one with the window fall protection because of the death of
Right.
numerous children, and in the process, I remember of trying to get that passed, we lost another little toddler who fell out the window because of the way the windows were constructed. It seemed like a really important piece of legislation. That would have been prevented by this, I guess, this particular bill. The radon, I think my colleague, Representative Anderson, offered legislation that dealt with that because we understand that is a very serious cause of lung cancer and has probably saved a number of lives that we need. And I don't know about the durability law, but I'm just concerned, like, if I understand, those are 3 arenas that come under the come over the $1,000 savings or cost. And I don't know what price you put on a child's life, probably more than what that said. So I guess I'm just raising those points, Mr. Chairman, because I wouldn't want us to not be able to, offer those types of legislation. And I think that was one of your concerns, that we wouldn't be able to go forward with those.
Thank you, Representative Clark. Representative New.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is for Mr. McClellan as well. Last year, when we heard the similar bill before committee, I asked the question, if there is a mechanism at the department to track the cumulative costs of the various regulations? And the answer at the time was no. And I'm wondering if in the past year, any movement has been made to be able to track those cumulative costs.
Assistant Commissioner McClellan.
Mr. Chair, Representative. Nothing specific, although you heard testimony that we are evaluating the new 2018 model codes, including the residential building code. And one thing we did differently this time is we created a spreadsheet of all 177 changes in the residential code for our partners in the residential building industry and ourselves to look at every item to see if it has an impact on the cost of a new home. We are charged with evaluating if there's, a $25,000 cost by the rulemaking laws, the local government or something, so we look at that. But we're not charged with looking at it at a micro level, but we do look at every change to see if it does represent a cost or not, because our charge is to try to lower construction costs. So we don't do an accounting of it. We would actually probably have to retain an analyst to do that, which we have put in a fiscal note for this bill if we were required to do that. Not a bad thing, but we'd have to have a professional actually do that for us.
Representative New?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Mr. McClellan, thank you for that. I guess I would just suggest, and it sounds like to Representative Clark's point, I'm not seeing a prohibition on the legislature bringing forward some of these important reforms that have been made in the past. But I do certainly still have significant concerns about these cumulative costs. I apologize, I did not note the name of the final testifier, but he indicated that the $1,000 is a very small percentage of the overall cost, and I understand that to be true. My concern, however, is that if we're not tracking the cumulative costs, then we don't understand the impact of those small changes. But certainly, regulations overall my understanding is over 30% of the cost of new construction. So certainly this has a significant impact on the cost of housing.
Thank you. Representative McQuaid and Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a number of questions. Representative Vogel, could you explain to me how $1,000 per unit on average is determined? So in my community, we're building a lot of new homes. Those homes are upwards of $400,000. If a change indicates $1,000 or more per unit for those homes, does that affect the code for all homes? Can you just explain that to me?
Representative Vogel.
Mr. Chair and Representative, obviously the $1,000 is not something that was looked at as an objective number. It has to be a subjective number. I guess the information that I had saying that for every $1,000, 3,000 to 4,000 people were outpriced on a home because of their mortgage characteristics, that it was decided that it was a fair number to look at. Now, whether or not it's 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000, you have to put a number in. I put a number in. So it isn't something that I objectively determine that this is a major breaking point. It's just my feeling was that since that was the information that I had relative to some people getting priced out, that was a reasonable number to put in.
Mr. Coyle? Okay. Representative McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Vogel, though I am sympathetic to your feelings, putting in a rule for $1,000 when there was no objective reason to do so seems a little bit absurd for law. I think we should be looking at what is the actual number that is starting to price folks out. And there's a lot more there, but I'll ask you a different question. Do you think that the housing affordability crisis is because folks can't afford homes that are being newly built?
Representative Vogel.
Mr. Chair and Representative, I do obviously think that there are people that are being priced out of the market, of course. I mean, that's why I've got the bill, because I wouldn't be here with the bill if I didn't believe that people were being priced out of the market.
Representative McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Vogel, I'm a millennial. I'm a woman of color. I sit at the nexus of a lot of people who can't afford homes. And I want to tell you that the reason people can't afford homes is not because of regulations. It's because wages aren't going up, and it costs more per year to send your kid to daycare than it does than you make at a job. Because of the college prices, because wages, the minimum wage hasn't been increased. These are the reasons people are being priced out of homes, not because of regulations that protect our water, our land, our air, radon, energy prices, so on and so forth. I also want to point out that the cost of building a home is different than the cost of owning a home. So the cost to own my home was bigger than the cost to run the energy in my home. This would be like, I'm lactose intolerant, for example, and it would be like getting an endoscopy every time I had a stomach ache instead of looking at the diet that I'm eating to say maybe that's why I have a stomach ache. This does not help the housing affordability crisis. This does nothing for that. It might help some people who are building very expensive homes reduce a few $1,000s for a few things. The reason people can't own homes is because wages have not gone up. Childcare costs more than a person makes in a year. College is increasingly more expensive. Because half of black wealth was devastated during the subprime mortgage lending crisis, these are the reasons people can't own homes. So if we continue to silo all of these issues away like this solves that, it does not solve that. And there are millennials and people of color all over Minnesota who could watch this and say, gee, thanks, that doesn't help us at all. One of the things you talked about is the $300,000 price point. At a $250,000 price point, the minimum amount for a down payment is $7,500. If you could find a lot of millennials in Minnesota without their parents' help or familial wealth that have $7,500, I'd love to see it. It's not a thing. This will continue to be an issue until we address all of those things and the other things like property taxes increasing because the state legislature doesn't fully fund our schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Until we fix those things, the housing crisis is not going to go away, and this certainly will not help that.
Representative Mahoney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would ask that and I didn't catch the name, I believe it's the regional manager of the National Code Development. He spoke of, yes, the fellow who just raised his hand. If he could come back to the table for a moment.
Representative Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I apologize, Rick?
Yep.
I apologize for not remembering your name.
No problem.
I think in your testimony, as you talked about code development, and it's been 13 years since I delved into that particular morass, as I'll call it. Because if there's anything more boring, I can't tell you what it is than 6,000 building code officials trying to have a discussion about building codes, because I had to watch that one day. Am I correct that you said that the residential home builders have representatives on these committees that develop these codes?
Yes, we have
To the testifier.
kind of yes. We have sort of a two-step process, okay? In the spring, in fact, coming up in Columbus next month, I used to be in public affairs and politics and stuff like that. When I talk to people and tell them about codes and what I do for a living, their eyes just sort of go like that. So I apologize. But the first step is called committee action hearing. And in that, and right now we're in Group A of the 2021 codes. I'm watching their eyelids. And they're taking in input, okay? And that goes to a code action committee. It's the code action committees is where we'll have representatives of industry, members of the public, and 1/3 of each of these committees. And gosh, there's like 20 of them out there. They have to be local code officials to, bring up they represent the norms of code enforcement at home. A lot of these people came up through the building trades before they became code officials. So they're very much in touch, with everything that what's involved with building. But yes, in that particular hearing, now the second step is that decision, that discussion, and that voting process is done entirely by code officials. These are members of ICC who are, we call them governmental members, and they are all local code officials. Fire code, plans examiners, permit technicians they could be, city building officials. It's that universe of people who are largely state and municipal employees have the final say on the code before it goes out the door to get published.
Representative Mahoney.
So, but back to my original question, to the people who support the residential home builders, the people who are supporting this particular bill, do they have representation on these code committees that make have those discussions? So the first phase and the second phase, I understand that you have to be a building official to actually vote on it, and I've known that for a while. But they have input, and how much is their input? Do they have input, and how much of their input is part of the final product, the piece voted on by the building officials?
The testifier.
Thank you. Their input is significant in that the people who go to these hearings have known each other for many years, and just, I hope I'm answering your question.
Yes.
Okay, and NAHB, National Association of Home Builders, is one of ICC's 5 strategic partners, going way back, which also includes the American Gas Association, Multi-Housing Association, who are the others? BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association, and AIA, the American Institute of Architects.
Thank you.
Representative Mahoney.
Thank you. No, I have no questions further questions for this witness.
Any other questions or comments?
I have what?
Well, I thought you were done.
No.
Oh, good.
I'm having so much fun with this. This has been
Great. It's Tim
such a-
Mahoney Day in the Capitol. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Representative Mahoney.
Well, Mr. Chair, I rewrote or recodified almost all of the code stuff about 13 years ago, trying to make it simpler and clearer, and have gone through this quite a bit. So we have, and I knew the answer to that question. I just wanted the committee to know how much input these home builders have. And this is the home builders have been trying to shift the blame of cost of housing since I dealt with it back in 2005, I think it was. This is I've got some comments on this particular piece. The OLA report on residential building costs was put out, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and it significantly put cost at the feet of the municipality. And if you saw what Mr. McCullen put out, you can see the cost, a building permit, Metro Waste, water connections, park improvements. It goes on down the list. And it's interesting reading the OLA report, which it states that the total cost does not, the total charge does not reflect the cost very well. Municipalities have used these fees as a piggy bank. That's my term, not the legislative auditor's term, and charged dramatic costs to and not delivered the service, whether it's inspections or parks or roads or any number of things that have been put on top of this. So it is not the code's fault, and the idea of putting a $1,000 limit on code changes is relatively nonsensical. when you're trying to put blame or put a cap on this. And Representative Vogel, I have a question for you. So let's say there is, and we adopt a new code, and there's one person that wants to have a hearing on it. And it is, the codes are substantially broad, and they go to several different committees. So a change to the plumbing code so that you have to install the P-trap at a certain height. And quite often that is, that's actually in the code for a variety of reasons. That would go to the Department of the Health and Human Services because plumbing is under Health and Human Services. But it would also go to Commerce. I can go down the list. The energy piece would go to energy. But the way your bill is written, it would, I'm not sure where this oversight would come from unless you had to start dividing out the code to go to a particular place. Is that your intent with this bill, that if a $1,000 threshold is reached, it go to one particular committee? Do we have to have something different than what we have today? What is your intent with that? Because codes are broken up into several different areas of the state legislature areas of authority.
Representative Vogel.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative. Well, looking at line 2.4, it says that the agency must notify in writing the chair and the ranking minority members of the policy committees of the House of Representatives and the Senate with jurisdiction over the subject matter. So there's a notification. Now, whether what they decide to do with that process is going to be their discretion because they are the chair.
So, Mr. Chair. So, but my question was, if they come to the legislature, so the Department of Labor and Industry would have to notify all of the committees when there is a code change that costs $1,000 the way your bill is written, and not just to the division that it affects. So energy or housing or plumbing or the structural piece, which goes to Commerce, they would have to notify all of them, and then the committee chair would ask to see it. But typically, when you had before this changed back in 2005, a code change went to like 4 or 5 different committees. And I had to go through that. I had to sit, Representative Krinky and I actually sat down and agreed on something, which is pretty rare if you know Representative Krinky and I. So we're kind of going backwards with your bill here. I'm going to finish now because I've talked too long. I think this is trying to place blame on something that it is not, whose fault it is not. I think if you want to reduce costs, you can continue to go back to the courts and the Supreme Court, so the residential builders can go back to the court and the Supreme Court and get rulings that are ignored about the cost that municipalities put on. That would be a good way to waste money because you've done that once or twice already. And again, municipalities are just ignoring that. And once they tried to bring that to the legislature, and if you thought you had troubles with this bill, that was more fun to watch. Because everybody was defending their particular groups. And if I remember correctly from, and this will finish me off here, this was one of the bills that was included in Commissioner Peterson's letter to us last year that said must come out of, it wasn't we requested it come out, but it must come out. Otherwise, the jobs and economic jobs, housing, and energy affordability would be vetoed. So have you had a conversation? Has this bill been vetted by the governor's office that says, oh, that's entirely different and we're happy to take a look at it again?
Representative Vogel.
Mr. Chair and Representative, I have not had a conversation with the governor's office.
Representative Mahoney? Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, then the chair will offer some questions and comments of his own. First of all, from those from the building industry, I mean, my understanding is the biggest determining factor in determining the cost of housing is supply and demand. Is that a fair statement? In terms of the overall cost of the existing housing stock? Representative Vogel, if you want to speak on behalf of them?
I would assume that has a lot to do with it because people can't buy something they can't afford.
Sure. So like we've seen like about a 60% increase in the price of existing housing stock. So of course, no one's talking here about changing the laws of supply and demand. What we're talking about is that government is getting in the way and making things unnecessarily expensive. Now, I've seen members of the DFL here whine about the fact that we're trying to make housing more affordable for people. Now, I understand the DFL solution is only one thing, and that is that we have to subsidize it, right? No matter how much, on one hand, government's driving up the cost of housing, high fees, high applications, high costs, but then we're going to subsidize it. That's going to be the DFL. We're going to subsidize it, and we're going to kill jobs in northern Minnesota. Those will be the two things. Oh, and we're talking about gun control. We're going to subsidize it, we're going to talk about gun control, and kill jobs in northern Minnesota. Now, outside of that, I haven't really heard a lot from the DFL about what they're going to do to reduce what is clearly a problem. Government is unnecessarily increasing the cost of government. Is Representative Vogel proposing to solve every single problem in one bill? No, but at least he's doing something. At least he's taking a step in the right direction. At least he's listening to the men and women who work in the industry who understand the fact that government is causing a problem. So thank you, Representative Vogel, for at least stepping into the arena and doing something instead of subsidizing, taxing, killing jobs, or proposing gun control. Thank you. And by the way, Representative Vogel, we have to lay this bill over for possible inclusion. So Representative Vogel modifies his motion that House File 3044, as amended, be laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Representative Vogel, do you have any closing comments? I didn't want to...
There's no way I can be as theatrical as most of the people on this committee.
I
so
take exception to that. I'm not being theatrical, Representative Vogel. With that, he renews his motion. It's laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you. Representative Mariani, and then Representative Barr, we're going to try to get your bill done. If those will be the only two bills we take up before we recess. So if you're here for Albright, Miller, Metza, we'll take care of that in the evening session. So, Representative Mariani, do you have someone to move your bill?
Evening session. Fabian.
Representative Mahoney moves House File 4147 for possible inclusion in a later bill. And Representative Mahoney, if you just give us 1 second here. Just
Not on my calendar.
Representative Mariani, to your bill. And by the way, it's good to see you, Representative Mariani.
Mr. Chair, members, it's really good to see you, and I really appreciate the excitement because I was falling asleep and now I'm wide awake. Mr. Chair, members, House File 4147 is a one-time $697,000 matching fund request to build a new tech training center on the east side of St. Paul. It would be built by an organization called CLUES, which is a Latino linguistic, culturally relevant nonprofit resource organization strengthening Minnesota's Latino families. The funds would be used to match funds that have been raised and still being raised to build an education and technology institute. And these funds will then be used to further this legislature's investment in workforce training and placement through CLUES outreach to the Latino community. Mr. Chair, I have here to provide more detailed information and answer your and the committee's questions. Mr. Dale Dufault, who is the Vice President of Finance and Administration at CLUES, and Mr. John Pacheco, who's on the board of the organization.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Dale Dufault. I'm the CFO/COO of CLUES. CLUES, English speaking, stands for Latino Communities United in Service. We're a 36-year-old organization. We're the largest Latino-led organization in the state of Minnesota. We provide services to over 15,000 people a year, primarily in a number of areas, but employment-related, workforce development-related, behavioral health, so mental health, chemical health. We have an elder day center in South Robert Street. And we've had a lot of increased growth in our need for workforce and employment training throughout the metro area and in greater Minnesota. And it's driven us to the need to expand our current East St. Paul facility, which is just a few blocks from Metro State University. We're looking to add an 18,000 education and technology campus to our current location in East St. Paul. To date, we've raised about $5.5 million of the $7.2 million cost of this project. And that leaves us with a $1.7 million shortfall. And what we're asking today is for you, Mr. Chairman, committee members, to support and consider a $697,000 payment or assistance for this project. It would leave us roughly $1 million left on the project, which we would be able to debt service ourselves at the current growth of the organization.
Before we go to the next testifier, Mr. Zempel, I have a quick question. Usually with these types of these bills, we have language that makes it clear that this is not to come out of their existing appropriation. And I don't see that language in here. Am I missing something, or is it because it's involved for a different purpose than their existing appropriation that it's not needed? Is that why?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I would believe so, but I can double check for you.
Okay. If we could just make a note, we don't have to address it right now, but just make sure that we don't accidentally do that. So, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is John Pacheco, and I'm Director of the Workforce Initiative for CLUES. And I just want to highlight a few of the highlights that we do have and what our plans are for the facility. As Mr. Dufault mentioned, this Teen Tech Center is something new. It's supported by Best Buy. They're building them around the states here. It's not only to look at coding, but the creative aspects of coding, developing media, other media. And so it's something very new in St. Paul, and it's something that we are very, very excited about. On the other end of the spectrum, we're expanding our elder services, Latino elder services programming. We're in a very small facility over on Robert Street there, and we're lacking space. And so we bring people together there to meet with each other. And like the population across the state, the Latino population is growing, elderly is growing exponentially. And then finally, in between all this is the work that you've supported in the past, and that's our workforce initiative, both here and in greater Minnesota. With this funds here, we expand the capacity for not only classroom, but what's unique to our services that while you're in there getting your workforce training or education service, it could be computer or just writing a resume, your children are in the next door in a similar classroom setting, learning English or learning their colors or whatever. So the parents feel a lot more secure, not dropping them off and taking them somewhere else. And so this building allows us to do that. And in addition to that, we're adding a commercial kitchen. So for all of these services, we have the ability to make meals there instead of bringing things in. And then as we look at how the facility is mapped out, when you see this picture here, we have the ability to bring big community gatherings or respond to issues or gatherings that we think are important to the community. And finally, I would tell you that it's great here in the Twin Cities, but we're also looking at our services in greater Minnesota, again, that you've supported. I was in Wilmer this morning. We're expanding our office space there to include not only the training we have, but expanded training there in some other areas like welding and others. We're also just leased a space in Austin. And so where we're going, it's to meet the community need and by demand from the community. And we're finding our classrooms are filling up, people are getting the training they need, and it's beyond a job. This is really true about careers. And I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Mariani, do you have any other invited testifiers?
Mr. Chair, I don't. No.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion, move to member questions and comments. Representative Newberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Mariani. This is looks like a pretty good project. I just would ask you to refresh for me and the committee So you're looking for over $7 million to complete this project, and you're going to be doing, it looks like some really good things, but how do you pay for your operations, your maintenance, your taxes? Where does the money come from to pay for the staff? Are you going to be coming back to the legislature in the future to look for, ongoing funding to keep this going? Just refresh us here on we're going to build this thing, so how are you going to pay for it afterwards?
To Representative Mariani or the testifiers?
Mr. Chair, yes, it's a very good question, and by the way, it's a $676,000 request, but you're correct. I think the overall project is a $7 million project.
Yes, that is correct. The overall project is $7.2 million. Our request is $697,000. We've done a number of cash flow and pro forma analysis that with the additional folks that will be servicing, we will be able to debt service this without any future requests to the state here for funding on this particular project.
You do have operating.
Representative Mariani, any closing comments for the committee?
Mr. Chair, I would appreciate your consideration of this.
Okay, with that, Representative Mahoney renews his motion to have House File 4147 laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thank you, Representative Mariani.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well.
Thank you.
Representative Barr, you're going to have the last bill of the first session. The chair will move House File 3846 for possible inclusion in a later bill. And Representative Staff, I believe you have the updated fiscal note that we're going to pass out, or is it already in your packets? Oh, do you have the fiscal notes to distribute to people? And while they're doing that, Representative Barr, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. House File 3846 basically requires the Commissioner of Commerce, beginning in fiscal year 2019, to dedicate at least half of the funds appropriated to returning assets to the individuals. In other words, spending 50% of their time not only taking in assets, but 50% of their time returning assets to their rightful owners. As you may recall, last session, I had another bill on unclaimed assets, and I'm very focused on trying to return assets to their rightful owners. I will tell you that I have talked with Mr. Brickwetti with the agency, and we don't always agree on means for getting there, but we do agree on outcome, and we've been talking about how to make this work, and as well as some other bills that might also give some flexibility in trying to return assets. So, Mr. Chair, with all due respect of the time, I will end my testimony there and be happy to stand for questions.
Thank you. It's a public hearing. Are there any members of the public wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion, move to member questions or comments. Questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative Barr, I'd like your bill. What we'll do is we'll lay this over for possible inclusion, and we'll see what we can do. But obviously, this has been an ongoing problem with the unclaimed property. For members who don't know, there was a Supreme Court ruling earlier this year that involves unclaimed property. We have to figure out how we're going to account for that regarding interest-bearing accounts. So that's that. Was there someone else? Representative Thiessen?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can someone just explain, is there, I can't tell from this if there's an actual cost. It looks from the bill that they're just saying you have to, is there an actual cost?
Mr. Brickwitty's here, and he can, or Mr. Zempel, or
Mr. Chair, I could comment if you'd like. So,
well, let's just have the staff. I know you
Yep,
can, but let's
okay.
just have Mr. Brickwitty, if you could introduce yourself and please proceed to the testimony.
Sorry to take up time.
No, it's fine. Mr. Chairman, for the record, Peter Brickwitty, Assistant Commissioner from the Commerce Department. Representative Thiessen, there is a cost to the state. The department's fiscal note reflects ongoing reduction in unclaimed property that would be coming into the state, and the unclaimed property account is held in the general fund. So reduction in the compliance work that the department does, which Representative Barr's bill creates, would reduce the amount of unclaimed property that's coming into the state, which nets as a reduction to the general fund.
So yes, Representative Thiessen, the state immediately takes unclaimed property and puts it into the general fund, immediately. So, any other questions or comments? Representative Barr, any closing words?
no, I just would appreciate your support of the bill.
The chair renews his motion to have House File 3846 laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thank you, Representative Barr.
Thank you.
So members, just a kind of a guide for a schedule here. I believe both caucuses are caucusing at 5 o'clock, I believe.
Yes.
So I'm guessing we'll be back about 6 o'clock. Keep your stuff in front of you, same room and everything. We should be back at 6 o'clock. I intend us going through those bills and then recessing. If something changes, we'll update people via the normal means. Representative Mahoney, do you have anything for me at all, or? Okay, with that, we're in recess to the call of the chair.